Title: I found a woman in my wife's emergency contact list, then I realized she knew my name. Story. Part 1. The woman at the hospital desk looked at me, then looked back at her computer. Are you Daniel Mercer? Yeah. She hesitated. Then I'm confused. That was the first thing she said to me. Not hello. Not sorry. Not even, can I help you? Just confused. I was standing in the emergency department at St. Anne's Medical Center in Columbus, Ohio, still wearing the jeans and sweatshirt I'd thrown on after getting a call from my wife. Emily had told me she'd been in a minor car accident. She said she was okay. She said she'd bumped her head and the paramedics wanted to check her out. She said, "Don't freak out, Dan." So naturally, I freaked out. But the woman behind the desk was staring at me like I was the one who didn't belong there. I'm Emily Mercer's husband, I said. I understand. She turned the monitor slightly toward herself. There's already someone listed as her emergency contact. Her sister. No. 3. My mother. No. Then who? The woman paused. Rachel Bennett. The name meant nothing to me. At least, it didn't at first. I remember actually laughing a little because the whole thing seemed ridiculous. Okay, maybe that's one of her friends. The woman nodded slowly. Maybe. There was something about the way she said it that made my stomach tighten. Then she added, "She's already here." I stopped smiling. Rachel. Yes. Here. She came in with your wife. I stared at her, for my wife had called me from an ambulance. Apparently, she hadn't been alone. And somehow, the stranger who had been with her knew enough about Emily to be listed as her emergency contact. But I didn't know her. That was the first crack. I just didn't know yet how deep it went. Emily and I had been married for 6 years. We weren't one of those couples who posted anniversary pictures every year with captions about being soulmates. We were quieter than that. We met when we were 27, at a friend's birthday party in a crowded apartment where everyone was drinking cheap beer and pretending they liked the music. 5. Emily was standing in the kitchen arguing with someone about whether pineapple belonged on pizza. I told her it did. She looked at me like I'd personally insulted her family. Absolutely not. That's a pretty strong reaction. It's a moral issue. That was our first conversation. 2 weeks later, we went out for coffee. 3 months later, I met her parents. A year and a half after that, we bought a small two-bedroom house on the north side of Columbus. It wasn't fancy. The kitchen cabinets were old, one bathroom door never closed properly, and every winter the upstairs bedroom became freezing no matter how high we turned up the heat. 6. But it was ours. Emily worked as an office manager for a dental practice. I worked for a regional insurance company, mostly handling claims. We had a dog named Cooper who believed every person entering our house was there specifically to see him. Our biggest arguments were usually stupid. Who forgot to buy coffee? Who left laundry in the dryer? Whether we were spending too much on takeout. Normal married people stuff. At least, that's what I thought. And that was why I trusted her. Emily wasn't secretive. She was organized. 7. She had calendars for everything. Bills. Appointments. Birthdays. She'd remind me about my dentist appointment 3 days before I had it. She knew where everything was. And she always said the same thing whenever I joked that she worried too much. I just like knowing what's going on. I used to find that comforting. Now I wonder if she liked knowing what was going on because she didn't like anyone knowing what was going on with her. At the hospital, I finally saw her. Emily was sitting on a bed behind a curtain. There was a small bandage above her eyebrow. When she saw me, she smiled. Hey. 8. I walked over and hugged her. You scared the hell out of me. I know. You said you were okay. I am. I pulled away. What happened? Someone ran a red light. Were you alone? Her eyes flicked toward the hallway. Just for a second. Then back to me. Yeah. It was such a tiny movement that I almost ignored it. Are you sure? Dan. What? I was alone. I nodded. Okay. A nurse came in to check her blood pressure. I sat beside the bed. Emily reached for my hand. Her fingers were cold. I'm sorry, she whispered. For what? For scaring you. 9. I squeezed her hand. You're here. That's what matters. She looked at me. And for a moment, everything felt normal again. Then I noticed her phone sitting on the chair. The screen lit up. One message. Rachel. Is he there? Emily saw it too. She grabbed the phone. Too quickly. I looked at her. "Who's Rachel?" Her face changed. Not dramatically. There was no gasp. No panic. Just a tiny pause. "She works with me. At the dental office." "Yeah. You never mentioned her." Emily shrugged. "I've mentioned her." "You haven't. Maybe you don't remember." That answer bothered me more than it should have. Because I remembered almost everyone Emily talked about. She had co-workers named Melissa, Karen, Josh, and Tyler. I knew which one was getting divorced. I knew which one had a baby. I knew which one hated their boss. But Rachel, nothing. I leaned back in the chair. "Is she the woman who came with you?" Emily looked at the ceiling. "Yeah. So she was in the car?" "No. Then why was she with you?" Emily hesitated. "She was nearby." "Nearby where?" "Dan, can we not do this right now?" I stopped. She was tired. She'd been in an accident. Maybe I was overthinking it. So I let it go. At least for the moment. 11. Emily came home 2 days later. The doctors said she had a mild concussion and needed rest. I took 3 days off work. I cooked. I walked Cooper. I picked up her prescriptions. I made sure she drank enough water. And Emily seemed genuinely grateful. For the first few days, I convinced myself the emergency contact thing was nothing. Rachel was probably just a friend I'd never met. People have private friendships. Marriages don't mean you know every person someone has ever spoken to. But then little things started bothering me. Emily started taking her phone everywhere. Not just to the bathroom. Everywhere. 12. If she went downstairs to get water, the phone came with her. If she took a shower, it stayed in the bathroom. One night, I woke up around 2 a.m. Emily wasn't beside me. I found her downstairs sitting at the kitchen table. The only light was coming from her phone. She looked up. "Why are you awake?" "Couldn't sleep." She locked the screen. "Me neither." I noticed she was crying. "What happened?" "Nothing." "Emily." She wiped her cheek. I said nothing. I sat across from her. "Is this about the accident?" "No." "Rachel." She looked at me. That was the first time I saw something I couldn't explain. Fear. Not guilt. Fear. 13. I don't want to talk about her, she said. "Why?" "Because you don't know her." "Then tell me who she is." Emily stood up. "I'm tired." She walked upstairs. I stayed at the table for another 10 minutes. The next morning, she apologized. She said the concussion was making her emotional. I accepted the explanation. I wanted to. A week later, I got a strange text. It came from an unknown number. "You need to ask Emily why she was at the Harrison Street house." That's it. No name. No explanation. I stared at the message for almost a minute. Then I showed Emily. 14. Her face went completely white. "Who sent this?" "I don't know." "Delete it." "What?" "Just delete it." "Why?" "Because it's probably someone messing with you. You know the address." She didn't answer. That was enough. I grabbed my keys. "Dan, don't." "Why were you at Harrison Street?" "I wasn't." "You just reacted like you knew exactly what they were talking about." "I don't." "Emily." She stepped between me and the door. "Please." I had never heard her say that word like that. Not angry. Not annoyed. Scared. "I need you to trust me." I stared at her. "I do trust you." She looked down. "No, you don't." Then she walked away. 15. I didn't go to Harrison Street. Not that day. Instead, I went to work and spent 8 hours pretending I could concentrate. That evening, I searched the address. It was an old rental house about 15 minutes from our home. Nothing special. But the name attached to the property made my stomach drop. Bennett. Rachel Bennett. That night, I waited until Emily was asleep. I didn't go through her phone. I almost did. But I couldn't bring myself to cross that line. Instead, I opened our shared computer. We used it for bills and tax documents. There wasn't much there. Then I found a folder I'd never seen before. It was buried inside another folder labeled insurance. Inside were scanned documents, receipts, medical records, a lease agreement, and a photograph. 16. I opened it. It was Emily, standing outside the Harrison Street house. She was holding a little boy's hand. The boy looked about 7. Emily was smiling. Not the polite smile she used with strangers. Her real smile. The one I'd seen thousands of times. I zoomed in. On the back of the photograph, someone had written, "First day, September 14. I kept scrolling. There were more photos. Emily at a playground. Emily sitting at a kitchen table. Emily helping the boy with homework. Emily holding a birthday cake. And then I saw Rachel. She was standing beside Emily. The two women looked comfortable together, like they'd known each other for years. 17. I opened the last photograph. It was newer. The boy was older, maybe 9 now. Rachel was behind him. Emily was beside her. And in the corner of the photograph was a man. I recognized him immediately. Not because I'd met him, because I'd seen his face before. On Emily's laptop. In an old photo she'd once shown me. It was her father, a man who had supposedly been dead for 11 years. I stared at the picture until my eyes hurt. Then I noticed something written on the bottom. A date. 3 days before our wedding. And underneath it, in Emily's handwriting, "He can't know yet." I heard footsteps upstairs. I closed the laptop. 18. Emily appeared at the top of the stairs. She looked at me, then at the computer. Her face went completely still. "Dan," she said quietly. I stood up. "Who is the boy?" She didn't answer. "Why were you living in that house?" "Nothing." "And why is your father in a photograph from 3 days before our wedding?" Her eyes filled with tears. Then she said something that made every other question suddenly feel unimportant. "Because my father isn't dead." I couldn't move. Emily took one step toward me. "I've been lying to you for 6 years. Then her phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. Neither of us touched it. The screen lit up. A new message appeared. "Rachel, he knows now. We have to tell him about the boy." I looked at Emily. She closed her eyes. And for the first time in 6 years, I realized I had absolutely no idea who my wife was.